Hello everybody, hope you're doing okay and welcome to Armada in Portugal. Now I've come here for a holiday. I was hoping to do lots of runs, but unfortunately wasn't to be the case. I went down with some sort of virus. It didn't turn out to be COVID, but it's rather laid me low for the last week and a half. So it's my last day here today. So I thought I'd do a video on all the shoes I got with me. I've got a little rotation of shoes for different purposes and also a bit of an update on how I've been doing with them and seeing how they're shaping up. Now back home in the UK, you wouldn't be seen dead with a shopping trolley, but it's kind of a standard issue here on Armada, but you've got to basically walk everywhere from the ferry. So I've got all my shoes in the bag, so let's get them out and have a look. Okay, so these are the shoes I've brought with me. I'm actually wearing the Nike Wearallday shoes, which I kind of use as my knockabout trainers. Not really running shoes, but they're very comfortable and don't cost much, and all black is always good. So we've got the Nike Pegasus Turbo Next Nature, bit of a controversial shoe. We've got the original version of the Endorphin Speeds in the New York colorway. We've got the original version of the Vaporfly Next Percent in the Valerian Blue colorway. I've got two pairs of these. This is my first pair. A bit of an odd one, this one. We've got the Nike Streak LT3 shoe, which has kind of been discontinued, but as you can see, it's a very minimalist shoe. We've got the Nike ACG Air Deschutz sandals. Not really a running shoe, but kind of handy for like walking on sand. And if you want to break into a run, they're not too bad. And we've got the Nike Invincibles version 2. Now of these shoes, I would say that the two on the end here, the Endorphin Speeds and the Pegasus Turbo Next Nature, are the two ones I kind of use as sort of like a do-it-all shoe for any type of purpose. The Invincibles I kind of use for like recovery runs when my legs are really beat up. And then obviously we go into the fast shoes. We've got my race day shoe and or fast day shoe here. And this is kind of an old school racing flat, but it's so handy on sand because they're so light. There's a lot of sand here on Armada, so if I want to go for a beach run, these are really great because you don't really need to worry about cushioning so much. And the Air Deschutz sandals, as I said, not really a running shoe, but if I wanted to go for a little walk and break into a little run, they're not too bad actually. Okay, so let's have a quick look at each individual shoe and see how I've been getting on with them. So if we look closer at the Endorphin Speed and the Turbo Next Nature, I've always done 200 miles in this pair of the Endorphin Speeds and just over 150 miles in the Next Natures. And there's not really any degradation at all on the outsoles at all. Looking absolutely great there, both of these two shoes. Now you might be wondering, why would I need both these shoes? They're kind of like versatile shoes, I would say. The Endorphin Speed I think is just slightly softer, and I think I tend to wear that more as a road shoe. But the Turbo Next Nature, I know a lot of people sort of really hate it, but I've actually quite liked it. So I think if you look at how I've got the lock down there, I've got very narrow feet and I've managed to get them very streamlined, and I've actually yanked off the laces. They don't sort of come as narrow as that, and they've, over time, I found that they're now really easy to get on, and I find them actually really comfortable just wearing them. So it's a shoe that, because of the waffle outsole, and it's a slightly firmer feeling than the Endorphin Speeds, it's a shoe that I've actually liked to take out on some light trails as well. So back home I did 16 miles as the longest run on a railway path in the summer when it was completely dry, and I also went for a sort of more adventurous off-road run and almost like to sort of like dare myself to see if I could actually use these shoes. So yeah, and on the road they work out fine. They're just a bit firmer feel than normal, but I think they definitely have softened up a lot. So I wouldn't just dismiss these shoes based on the people's opinions who've maybe worn them once and hated them. I think what I find really annoying is people say, well, they aren't the Pegasus Turbo 2. Well, they're not. They're the Pegasus Turbo Next Nature. So I think you need to take them on value of what they are. And yeah, I mean, maybe they're not the shoe that I would race in, but then I've only got a couple of shoes that I would here. So I think these two shoes complement these well as versatile shoes. And some days I just fancy wearing this one, and some days I would just fancy wearing this one. I've actually got 7 pairs of the Endorphin Speeds over the different versions. I've got 2 pairs of the original one. I've got 4 pairs of version 2. 1 was the original normal one and 3 of the Run Shield edition. And I've got 1 version of version 3. So altogether, I've actually worn them for over 1,200 miles over those 7 shoes. And the Pegasus Turbos, over all the different versions of them, I think it'll definitely be in the 1,000-figure mark as well. So moving along now to the Invincible version 2. I never actually did a proper review of this one because it's so similar to the first version. I thought I've just really got a red shoe rather than the original black one. And it's a bit of a shoe that I'm blow hot and cold with this shoe. I mean, I think it's a shoe that if your legs are really beat up, it's the one shoe you could literally put on and feel like you could do a run. On the other hand, you might think if your legs are that beat up, should you be running at all? So I haven't actually done that many miles in this shoe, only 36 miles, although I had done 176 in the first version. So all told, I'm about 200 miles in, and it's not really any problems at all, as you might expect with 36 miles in. I do find them sort of almost too soft. So sometimes when I go out for an easy run, I feel like I'm sort of fighting the shoe, and for a day when you like just want to bob along quite gently, I found like I was more sinking a lot in them as I was going forwards. And having such a large size, I don't know if you can see that, but that is actually about 11 centimeters wide, and I had a friend's version which is like a more standard size 8, and that was only about a 9 centimeter width, so it's kind of more similar to this one. So there's just so much more shoe in my size, so I think that's perhaps why I'm sort of struggling with them. But I think it's a very handy shoe to have if you've got sore legs and you just want to plod out. Although I have actually done a 15-mile run in the original versions, and I think the first I've done in these ones is about 10 miles. So yes, it's certainly a shoe that you can take out. I did one run once when I tried a bit harder, and I think I was doing about 6:30 pace, and yeah, you can get going. I think it's more depending on you rather than the shoe sometimes, isn't it? So we've moved now to the Vaporfly Next Percent. Not really a shoe that needs much introduction these days, is it? I've done 222 miles in this pair, and I've got 7 pairs on the go altogether, 6 pairs of the original version and just 1 of the second one, and all told now I'm past 1,000 miles. So it's definitely my go-to shoe when I want to run fast. Just look at the outsole on this one. It's showing a bit of wear, but not too bad. I mean, not half as bad as I've seen some shoes that have almost fallen apart after 50 miles, so maybe I'm a bit lucky with my shoes there. You can just sort of see bits sort of flaking off a bit, but I mean, it's all a bit cosmetic, and they still do feel quite nice. When I got here, before I started to feel unwell, I did actually manage to get out for some 1-minute intervals in them, and they're such a great shoe. I was doing about sort of 5:30, 6-minute pace, depending on the wind and that, and yeah, you just sort of feel like you're bouncing along, no problems at all. So I think definitely these are my favourite shoes of all the carbon racers, and definitely the shoe that I would pick to race in. Furthest I've run in this one is 2 full marathons, not this particular shoe. I think I've done 20 miles in this particular shoe. So this, of all my pairs, this is the pair that I've done the third most in at 222. I've got another pair just past 300 and another pair just under 300. So yeah, shaping up very well. And the outsoles of those ones also look very similar to this one as well. They're all in good shape. Now, on the Nike Streak LT3, I've actually raced 800 in this. I think it's a bit of an old school flat. I mean, it really is absolutely minimalist. It's almost like just sort of a covering for your foot. And I'm not sure what the actual foam is. I think it might be an original sort of Cushlon foam. I think the elites used to run race marathons in these, but if you've ever tried to wear a pair of shoes like this compared to modern day shoes, it feels like you've got absolutely nothing on at all. But if you're on a sort of like grass or sand surface that I'm here, they're kind of ideal because they're so light and there's so little under it that you just feel like you can actually be more connected to the ground. You don't need to be worrying so much about cushioning. So yeah, it's not a shoe that I take out very often, but it's a very handy one to have if you wanted to do a bit of like a faster run on the beach and you didn't want to sort of like sink all the time. And finally, the Air Deschutz sandals. As I said, not really a running shoe, but I have actually done a little run in them for my first review a couple of years ago. And I think it was about 4 miles, and I've done a couple of 3-mile sort of walks on the island here, so I haven't done too many miles in them, but they do feel sort of quite nice to walk in actually. Don't get any rubbing. And occasionally, when I said I have actually done a run in them, then it's not too bad. I mean, it's not obviously an ideal shoe, but if you've got nothing else on and you just want to like break into a little jog or something, then it's quite good. And it's sort of ideal on surfaces like this when there's a bit of sand, bit of wet. You don't really care too much about where you put your feet, and you've got some nice covering for them. They're quite heavy shoes actually, and it's not really sort of the traditional sort of running shoe foam. It feels quite firm when you're actually running on them. So it's not like the sort of like traditional React Firm or ZoomX or something. It's probably one of the more traditional foams, maybe a sort of version of Cushlon. But yeah, I mean, in terms of like if you want a good sort of comfortable sandal that you can sort of walk anywhere on, and yeah, definitely recommend them. So I hope you enjoyed this little look at all my shoes that I've got with me at the moment. Which shoes of these have you got? Which ones do you like? I did actually do a run in the Next Percent, a run in the Pegasus Turbos, and a run in the Endorphin Speeds, 1 day each in the 3 runs I did do here, and then some walking in the Air Deschutz sandals. So they've all got reasonable good use, and I'll be knocking about in the Nike Wearalldays as well, which definitely, if you're looking for just a basic trainer to wear all day, would definitely worth checking those out as well. Okay, so hope you found this interesting. Like and subscribe and all that, and see you next one then. Bye.